bass lines, you know, it's basically been called hook lines by the same reason, because it's so what is it called, poignant, you know, so specific in a way. I heard this the rumor that actually the reason why you started playing on these high-pitched chords was because you couldn't hear the bass due to the very poor amplifiers.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We didn't have any money, so we couldn't buy any gear. And my bass speaker cost 30 kroner. It sounded like 30 kroner as well, you know, and so the only way I could hear it was to play high, and Ian in particular really liked it when you played high, and he encouraged me, and he, you know, I mean, it was quite weird when you think about it, because when we started a song, you know, I'd be playing high and Ian would go, oh, that's great, okay, that's great, you play high, drive it along, and Ian, you know, he'd say, Steve, do some of them jungle drums. Bernard, you put some chords on. And that was it. He was there, you're like, oh, wow.
Well, Martin Hannett in this context, because, you know, obviously also the other records he has produced, it's very clear to hear that he did something. And the way he's portrayed very often, in particular maybe in this 24-hour Party People film, is a kind of really like a monster or a crazy guy, basically. And I've read all these rumors that, you know, when he mixed, he put on the air conditioning, so everybody froze and had to
Martin did not like musicians. Which is a bit of a problem when you're a producer, but he used to try and drive you out. That is absolutely true. He hated us. He really did. And Bernard and I in particular were the only ones that would say anything. Steve and Ian were very meek and mild, and they wouldn't say anything. And Bernard would sit on that side, Martin would be in the middle, and I'd be on the other side. And me and Bernard would be going, Martin, he got, and he was like that. It was a constant battle with him, but the guy was a genius, you know, but he was a lunatic, an absolute nutter. You never got any sense out of him whatsoever.
Because also when I heard this, the Unknown Pleasures, there are all these otherworldly influences, like you can hear elevators going up and down.
Yeah, he was fantastic at that. But I mean, you know, any good producer is there, and I hate to use the term atmosphere for the pun, but he's there to create an atmosphere and get the most out of the band. You know, I mean, Martin didn't write the songs; he just gave them the gift wrapping, if you like, and he was so good at it. But I mean, he did have some really wacky ideas, and the thing is that he was one of the first producers to use time-lapse, to use echo and sampling. In like with a snare drum, he'd sample a snare drum because he helped AMS develop the technology.
Oh yeah, they have reverb unit.
The pitch shift, so that you could sample something, and then you could pitch it down or pitch it up. He helped. I didn't know that. I didn't find that out till years later. You know, that he'd done it. He was instrumental in doing it. So I mean, the guy was ahead of his time. He was a real. I mean, he used to really make you laugh, because I think that there has to be a hint of madness for people to be really, really special. And I think that Ian Curtis had that hint of madness. I think I've got the mint of madness. But Martin was completely potty. He would go. I remember the thing about him when he was on the moors recording. In the film, the 24-hour Party People, when they find him on the moors, he was recording silence. So he could listen to it in the studio. And that's true. You know, that's true. I mean, he degenerated into a really bad drug addict. You know, I didn't know at the time, because I'd never had any dealings with anything with drugs, contrary to popular belief, but it was true. And to witness it, he just looked like he'd lost his marble, and he was being really awkward and really obnoxious. And he'd also gone nocturnal. He wouldn't come out during the day. So everything was a pain in the arse, because it meant you were working all night from like 6 o'clock at night until 8 o'clock in the morning. So your life just became awful, because there was nothing to do at night in them days before the internet. You know what I mean? You just sat there. There was nobody to phone. There was no TV. I mean, you take so many things for granted now, but the television in England finished at 10 o'clock. So there was nothing for you to do, and you were stuck in the studio with a lunatic. And you're like, fuck him, I've got to get rid of him. Ironically, then, a few years later, we all became the same. It's a gradual slip. But Martin he was a wonderful, very, very forward-thinking producer, but towards the end, he did have the reputation. My friend from Manchester used to manage him, called Derek Bramwood, who's dead now, God rest his soul. But Martin's claim to fame then was that you could put Martin Hannett in the studio with a group, any group, and they could be getting on like a house on fire, and within 2 or 3 hours he would have them all at each other's throats. He was breaking up every band he would have. That was his reputation, because he was so difficult, he made everything. But you know, out of that chaos, and he actually created something unique, outstanding. And it's the same way that Tony Wilson and Rob Gretton with the Hacienda and with Factory, it was complete chaos. Nobody knew what the hell was going on, but they created something wonderful. And I suppose there is an argument, you know, for not to think too much about things that you do, and to be spontaneous and to take a chance, and that's how things happen. But you know, as our children generally put it to us, and as Tony Wilson's son used to put it to his dad, how could you fuck up all those chances? You know, waste all that money, make a mess, go bankrupt, Hacienda go bankrupt, you know, you lose all your groups. So, but it was part of the thing, you know, I mean, you know, people don't have tattoos on their arms like that for nothing. They have them because you've done something really, really special. And I suppose in a way it makes it quite odd. Because, and this is one of the things I think about New Order reforming now, is that when you get to our age, it actually gets quite frightening about what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And that's what made me laugh about that, you know, when the U2, when they said, oh God, we're going to be doing this till we're 80. And us musicians probably will do, because we don't know what else to do. And I think that because of the failure of Bad Lieutenant, I think Bird must have thought, shit, what am I going to do now? I need to get New Order back. You know, so he just went about it in a bad way. Yeah, because it is a problem for people who don't know what to do. You know, I mean, my life is quite odd. And sometimes, you know, when I say to my wife, oh, I'm packing it all in, I'm staying here, she goes, stop me holding up. Punch you out, you know, because musicians generally are quite difficult people. So, but it's a strange position to be in, especially when you start at 21. I mean, and I saw U2, because U2 came into the studio when we were recording Closer, and Martin Hannett said, listen, he said, I'm just going to break off, he said, I've just got to see these school kids who want to do a record. And we were like, oh, fucking hell, Martin, you know, I can't. And he was in talking to him, and I remember going in the office to get him out, you know, because he'd been gone for about 2 hours, and, you know, time's money. And he was sat with Bono, and when you walked in, they were like, and they were all 14, 15, you know. What's he doing with these kids? Well, if you do at 21, you know.
Boney has later then said that Ian Curtis really was the greatest. He was so
I mean, Tony, just before Tony died, he actually said to me, and we were talking about the myths, like, you know, Genesis Peorage reckons that Ian used to phone him up all the time. Well, Ian didn't have a phone. So it's a little bit weird, that one. We were talking about, he probably thought he was on the phone, you know what I mean? And because he wrote the wonderful song, didn't he, Water, about Ian's death, yeah. And we were talking about myths, and I was saying, oh, do you remember that one about Bono phoning you up and saying he was going to take over where Ian left off? And he went, that's true. Yeah, Bono had a phone. And he did phone up Tony and said, don't worry, Tony, I'm going to take over where Ian Curtis left off. So, I mean, and so, like, you know, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.
There is this other scene